6.5 Shaping and Maintaining Behavior. To scientifically study the relationship between behavior and its consequences in the laboratory, Skinner invented the Skinner box or operant chamber. It is a small cage with a food dispenser and a device that automatically records the number of operants made by an experimental animal, usually a rat, a pigeon, or a chicken. Shaping involves reinforcing successfully closer approximations of a behavior until the correct behavior is displayed. The partial reinforcement effect, building resistance to an extinction. Continuous reinforcement is a pattern of reinforcement in which every occurrence of a particular response is reinforced. Partial reinforcement, by contrast, is a pattern of reinforcement in which the occurrence of a particular response is only sometimes followed by a reinforcement. Extinction in operant conditioning is the gradual weakening and disappearance of a conditioned behavior. It occurs when a behavior is no longer followed by reinforcement. The partial reinforcement effect is a phenomenon in which behaviors that are conditioned using partial reinforcement are more resistant to extinction than behaviors that are conditioned using continuous reinforcement. Schedules of reinforcement are specific preset arrangements of partial reinforcement that produce different patterns and rates of responding. With a fixed ratio schedule, or FR, reinforcement occurs after a fixed number of responses. Fixed ratio schedules typically produce a high rate of responding that follows a burst-pause-burst pattern. With a variable ratio VR schedule, reinforcement occurs after an average number of responses, which varies from trial to trial. Variable ratio schedules produce high steady rates of responding with hardly any pausing between trials or after reinforcement. With a fixed interval FI schedule, a reinforcer is delivered for the first response emitted after the preset time interval has elapsed. Fixed interval schedules produce a pattern of responding in which the number of responses tends to increase as the time for the next reinforcer draws near. With a variable interval VI schedule, reinforcement occurs for the first response emitted after an average amount of time has elapsed, but the interval varies from trial to trial. Variable interval schedules tend to produce moderate but steady rates of responding. Behavior modification is the application of learning principles to help people develop more effective or adaptive behaviors. The systematic use of reinforcement and shaping results in the increased occurrence of desirable behaviors. Behavior modification has been used for improving worker performance, increasing social skills in children, and promoting sleep at night.